Lion King review, here we go. Lion King, the remake to the 1994 classic that nobody asked for, is here, and yeah, I got some opinion. Lion King is a remake. It's a retread of the original beat for beat. If somebody considered this a spoiler, that's my bad, but look, it's not doing anything for you. When you go into this thing, don't go into this thing expecting anything new. I thought that they would take more liberties in this one, but they really didn't. They played this one really close to the chest, tried not to steer from the source material. They did try to make these little attempts at doing something new, you know, kind of putting a new flavor on it, you know, like when they sing certain songs a certain way, or some of the way that they perform some of the scenes. They would try to make a slight difference, but you know what? That's kind of what ruined it. Let's be honest. I don't even know how strong of a story that The Lion King is, but it was just executed to perfection. And these story arcs that you got in the original Lion King, they were just great. They taught you lessons that were really valuable, things that you kept with you. I'll be honest, I don't even think that The Lion King is a kid's story. I mean, let's compare kids' stories for 1 second. On one hand, you got Dr. McStuffins singing about a stethoscope, and on the other hand, you got Scar singing about murdering his brother and nephew. My point is that these things are not kids' themes, but some themes, they transcend ages. Themes like pride, things like betrayal, things like family, things like your right to the throne. No, I'm just playing. Probably kind of stretching that one. Even themes like Hakuna Matata. You can scroll down a Facebook page and see a bunch of people who need to be chanting that shit right now. But let's get into some story, shall we? And I'll try to be vague as always, because I don't want to give any spoilers. But this story is basically House of Cards, but we see it from a different perspective. We see it from the victim. We see it from the victim, the lion who was exiled from his home after some shady politics goes on where he's from. And then a little vacation at a resort, a little teachings from Buddha, and bam, he's back to reclaim his throne. All of these beats were stayed loyal to. So I know it's weird, right? When you look at the critical reception, you got the original that's sitting at a 93, and you got this one that's sitting at a 53. I already knew that this review would be a little longer because I got a lot to talk about, and I really want to explore why this is without giving too much away. So let's just talk about the obvious stuff. The most glaring weakness of this is the live action. This should have never been made. It should have never been made because it's live action. When you go live action, and man, they really did a good job with live action, but this would have been so much better as some special on National Geographic, not really trying to remake one of our classics. Often, when it was time for these characters to convey their story beats, it would always be missing because they tried to keep these things loyal to the actual expression of animals. Animals don't express like us. They're really, really honest. Us, we react and it shows, especially when you're talking theater. The original Lion King was heavily influenced by theater, heavily influenced by Shakespeare, so you needed a lot of the expression that you would see in the original Lion King to really help you understand these characters and give them depth. They almost did that here, but they would often cheat themselves. They would often find themselves trying to streamline this thing and forgetting to develop these characters, and by the end, you don't relate to anybody. But this happens in little stupid horror movies, not one of the all-time classics that has some of the greatest character arcs we've ever seen. I'm getting a lot of weird feedback on Scar. I actually think Scar was the best thing in this movie because they actually cared about him the most. They really wanted us to understand why he was doing what he was doing. Most of the things that came from the original was kind of left completely intact on Scar's behalf, except for some of the stuff with the hyenas, but I won't get into that too much, but they definitely took some liberties there. Also, I think that, I'm gonna have to say his name, ain't I? Terrell, he was definitely great. He always is great. But when you compare him to his cast members, oh my God. He looks like the greatest actor that ever graced the earth. I'm not hating on Donald Glover's performance, but damn it, this was a miscast. Not as much as a miscast as Beyonce, but this was a miscast. See, this is the thing about Simba. Simba goes through every emotion that you can imagine. He loses his father, he loses his home, he gets new friends, he gets new love, and he reclaims his throne. You can't go through all of these things not knowing how to bring it when it's time for him to go to those depths. I think that this was done much better in the original. Honestly, with this being Simba's story, that's where it failed the most, because that's the guy who's really supposed to bring it home. When his character arc finishes, you're supposed to feel like you've seen the arc of a hero. But in this one, it seemed like that he was never ever really turned into the king that he was supposed to be. It was more so like the story forced him into it. And that's the last thing you wanted. You never knew when he decided to be the person he was by the time the movie ended. No scene felt like That was the key. That's when it happened. And that's a big problem. Okay, let's talk about Beyonce. Let's talk about Beyonce for a quick second. I hate picking on Beyonce. Beyonce is such a sweetheart. She's a really nice girl. I really think that somebody almost put her at gunpoint to do these lines. I'm pretty sure there's like, Beyonce, we want you to sing on Lion King. And then when she said yes, they was like, you know what? Can we get her to do some lines? I got no problems with actors doing the lines and singers singing. That's when you get the best of things. But no, we didn't get that this time. We got Beyonce reciting lines like she's at the audition. Like, come on, man. This is Disney. I thought that Timon was really entertaining. Seth Rogen was a great casting choice. I really thought he was fun. I really thought the hyenas was fun as well. Shout out to Kenan Michael Kay and Eric Andre, knowing how not to get in the way. A couple people could have learned that, especially Jon Favreau, the director of this movie. I'm really kind of messed up about Jon Favreau. I felt like this was his shot. When you see some of his previous work, especially his work in Iron Man, you can just tell that this is a guy who's really easy going on set. He just wants his stuff to be kind of systematic. He wants his stuff to be kind of orderly, and that's what you get. But see, he never takes risk, and you can feel it in this one. You can feel that it was a lot of that dudes going on. A lot of the beats were off in this one. I feel like that they needed to go beat for beat with the original. They were doing it in different tones. They were kind of doing different takes on the songs, trying different notes here or there, and it was all really distracting, honestly. It was really jarring, and they just could not capture the magic of the original. And again, I don't feel like most of this is this cast's fault. I don't think most of this is this crew's fault. It's that greedy Disney who wants all the money ever printed. So this is the thing. These kind of things is always horrible to see because Lion King was a sure shot to make its money, and damn it, it's making its money. It's not making as much money as I projected it to. I thought that it would make a lot more. I thought that it would at least get close to Avengers. But it's not even getting close. It has a chance to beat Beauty and the Beast. But the way that the critical reception this is, the way that everybody is lukewarm at best on this one, I don't know if people are going to keep going to the theaters, keep bringing their kids to the theaters to see this one. I don't know if it's going to maintain this momentum. But this thing is making bank. And when it's making bank, I mean, we really might see a sequel to this thing. Look at the instant replay. Look at the concern on my face. So something really interesting is happening. As I talk to people about this movie, they can tell by my tone that it's not worth paying for. It's a lot of people, especially my generation, who don't even want to go through the heartbreak. They can sense it. They can feel it radiating off me, the heartbreak that's waiting for them when they see this, when they know it just isn't right. And I'm hoping that most of those critics was the ones who was killing this thing on Rotten Tomatoes. Most of the people who, got their love from cinema, from movies like The Lion King, and decided to do this thing, and were completely heartbroken and said, no, I'm not going to take it. But the audience kind of disappointed me. The audience, they kind of were like, oh, well, I have fun. My kids like it. Of course kids going to like it. Kids like any fucking thing. But what we're seeing right now is a completely average project, no matter how much you cut it. And it's amazing because so much was done wrong in here, but this story is just so legendary and impactful that it survives everything. So, if you got the context clues, I'm pretty sure you know who I'm siding with. Definitely siding with the critics on this one. They are being a tad bit harsh, but I'm telling you, a lot of that was some heartbreak. This movie is about a 60, 64%. A couple of the musical scores was still kind of nice, I'm not going to lie. But the other ones, where they were taking all these liberties and doing all this extra stuff and changing some of the iconic scenes from the movie, it's just a little too much to accept. I never thought that I would ever see a Beyonce and Childish Gambino duet in my fucking life. I haven't told a soul to skip this, but every time I talk to people about it, they're like, yeah, I'm going to skip it. So don't feel any pressure to see it unless you just want an IMAX experience to see these animals, because they do look incredible. That I cannot deny. But you can tell by the tone, this is a rough one. But hey, Little Mermaid, Milan, 101 Dalmatians, Peter Pan, they got some good stuff coming up, man. There's no way they can screw that up. What's up? I hope you like the review. I like to do these because I like to give people some type of perspective with these movies, but what I really would recommend is that you go to the Novelty Podcast. You can Google it. You can go to podbean.com directly, and you can check me out. That's where I put my unfiltered reviews, spoiler reviews, all kind of things where I'm talking in depth about these movies, and I'm talking about a lot of behind-the-scenes politics that goes on with Hollywood that you would not believe. The show is growing. Get with it. I was gonna say get with it or get lost, but that's dumb. I listen to a lot of rap sometimes. My name is Terrell. This is a better late review of The Lion King. See you on the next one.